This video is a resource to help third-time unsuccessful CFE writers understand their CFE results and their next steps. If you are a first or second-time unsuccessful CFE writer, we have developed a separate video for you, so please refer to that video instead. Please note that the 2019 CFE does not count as an unsuccessful attempt. You should only be viewing this video if you had 3 unsuccessful CFE attempts or are unable to attempt the CFE again. For example, your timeline is expiring. This video is only meant to provide you with an overview. We strongly encourage you to carefully review the information in the results email you received from CPA Ontario, which includes a link to a document called Interpreting CFE Results, to help you better understand the detailed results and other important information on next steps. If you still have questions after watching this video and reviewing the recommended resources, you can book a CFE consultation on the CPA Ontario CFE Remarks, Performance Analysis Reports and Consultations webpage. Or email cpaModule@cpaontario.ca. If you decide to book a CFE consultation, we will discuss what you can expect during your CFE consultation near the end of this video. Understanding your third and/or final unsuccessful CFE attempt. If you are watching this video, it means that you were unsuccessful at the CFE, and it is your third time being unsuccessful, or you are unable to attempt the CFE again. We understand that an unsuccessful CFE attempt can be a disappointing experience for students. However, it's important to understand what this means for you and what the next steps will be. Students are allowed 3 attempts to pass the CFE. After 3 unsuccessful attempts, students are deregistered as a student with CPA Ontario. A student who was unsuccessful at the CFE 3 times will receive a notice of deregistration issued by the CPA Ontario Registrar. The notice will indicate the date of the deregistration, which will be 45 days after the CFE results release date. This is not a discretionary action and is mandated by CPA Regulation 9(1), Section 47.5, which all students are required to abide by. As is the case with all unsuccessful CFE writers, a third-time unsuccessful writer will have the option to request a remark, which we will discuss further in this video. If a remark is requested and it is successful, meaning the student's unsuccessful result is overturned, they will not be deregistered and will be able to continue as a CPA student, assuming all other CPA student requirements are met. If a remark is requested and it is not successful, the student will be immediately deregistered as of the date the remark decision is issued. If the student chooses not to request a remark, they will receive a confirmation of deregistration within 45 days of the results release date. The registrar is required by the regulations to deregister a student who breaches certain obligations, and there is no discretion. If you are deregistered, you lose student rights and privileges, any transitional or special considerations awarded, credits, courses and any reported practical experience. You are no longer a CPA Ontario student. Further details on deregistration are found in Regulation 9(1), which we encourage you to review. Deregistered students have the option to apply for re-registration. A request for re-registration is only considered in extraordinary circumstances, and at the discretion of the registrar, the Admission and Registration Committee. Re-registration is not guaranteed, and requests are assessed on a case-by-case basis. Extraordinary circumstances are external, unanticipated, and beyond the control of the individual. This could include circumstances such as an unexpected medical illness or a personal tragedy. The student would need to support the request with documentation such as medical documents, a birth certificate, death certificate, or other documents. It is important to note that extraordinary circumstances can relate to any of your exam attempts, not just your latest attempt. If a re-registration request is successful, the registrar will outline the conditions of the re-registration. Re-registration conditions are decided by the registrar. We are unable to comment or speculate on what that might mean for the student, for example, if they will be granted another attempt at the CFE, as each request is assessed on a case-by-case basis. Understanding your CFE results document. Each student receives 2 results documents, one for day 1, and one for day 2 and 3. As mentioned previously, these documents can be downloaded from the CE portal, they will not be emailed to you. We strongly recommend you download and save a copy of your results PDFs in a secure place, as they will only be maintained on the portal for a period of time. If you are having trouble with accessing the CE Results portal, please send an email to the email address on the CE portal webpage first, as CPA Ontario is unable to troubleshoot any technical issues related to the portal. Ensure you do not use your D2L email when emailing CE for support. If you were successful on either day 1 or day 2 and 3, the only information you will see on your results documents is a pass result, no further information is provided. Note that for day 2 and 3 it is possible to pass the CFE overall and not pass at either achieving depth in financial reporting or management accounting at level 2. However, this may have other implications which we will discuss later. If you were unsuccessful on day 1, your day 1 results document will only show the overall result, the word fail will appear. Day 1 is assessed independently from day 2 and day 3. A pass or fail decision is made based on a holistic assessment of the student's performance in applying the CPA way to demonstrate essential professional skills. Some of the more common areas where students struggle on day 1 are not concluding either on each analysis or providing an overall conclusion, missing an overarching issue in the case, or providing an inconsistent conclusion with their analysis. If you were unsuccessful at day 2 and 3, your results document will contain more details on each of the 4 levels of the CFE. For day 2 and 3, the Board of Examiners, which is a national committee that sets the passing standard for the CFE, uses a 4-level decision model to assess the competence of potential entry-level CPAs. 4 key decision points, or levels, are applied in reaching a pass or fail decision. Students must pass at all 4 levels in order to pass day 2 and 3 of the CFE. In the next segment of this video, we will go through and explain all 4 levels in more detail. It's important to keep in mind that the marking guides and the exact number of assessment opportunities, also known as AOs, that a student would need to demonstrate competence in to pass a particular level, is not disclosed. More information on the marking and evaluation process can be found in the Board of Examiners report. There is a report prepared for each CFE and it is available on the CPA Canada website. The board report for this CFE will be released in a number of months. Please refer to the CPA Canada website for details on the timing of the release. We will now go through all 4 levels of the passing profile for day 2 and 3 in more detail. Level 1 of the passing profile requires that the response must be sufficient, which in other words means that a student must have achieved a sufficient number of C or competent and or RC reaching competence scores across all of the assessment opportunities provided on day 2 and 3. As mentioned previously, this sufficient number is set by the Board of Examiners for each CFE and is not disclosed. It's possible that a student may meet the requirements to pass at levels 2, 3 and 4 but still not be successful at level 1. Level 1 is the most common place that students are unsuccessful. Level 1 also includes something called a decile ranking, which is unique to level 1 only. Unsuccessful writers will receive a decile ranking from 1 to 10. The closer your decile ranking is to 10, the further away you were from meeting the passing profile. In the example above, this student achieved a decile ranking of 4, which means they were in the top 40% of unsuccessful writers. A decile ranking is one of the tools to help you decide if you would like to request a remark of your results, which we will discuss more in this video. If you were unsuccessful at level 1 and achieved a decile ranking between 1 and 5, this may indicate you may need to strengthen your case writing skills. You can consider taking or retaking Capstone 2 or pursuing case writing preparation services with an external service provider. Your next steps would depend on the resources you use to prepare for this CFE attempt. Please note that CPA Ontario does not endorse any specific service provider, but you may find some of the larger providers by performing a web search. We will discuss some further strategies you may want to consider in the next steps portion later in this video. If you were unsuccessful at level 1 and achieved a decile ranking between 6 and 10, this may indicate the need to strengthen your understanding and ability to apply technical concepts, such as financial reporting and taxation. To be successful at level 2, you need to score a certain number of C's in financial reporting and or management accounting on day 2 and 3 of the CFE. There will be opportunities to obtain depth in financial reporting and or management accounting on both day 2 and day 3. However, the mix of assessment opportunities in each competency on each day will vary from exam to exam. If you were unsuccessful at level 2, the issue may be your level of technical knowledge in financial reporting or management accounting, or your ability to apply your technical knowledge to a case to obtain sufficient depth. For management accounting, the issue may possibly relate to the way you are completing the quantitative analysis. You may be missing critical information, not integrating the analysis into the remainder of the case, or there could be other reasons. If you passed level 1, but were unsuccessful at level 2, it may relate directly to a weakness in either financial reporting and or management accounting or time management on your cases. While you only need to pass financial reporting or management accounting at level 2 in order to pass the CFE overall, your performance on the assessment opportunities at level 2 impact your overall level 1 score, since level 1 is determined based on achieving a sufficient number of C and/or RC scores across all of the assessment opportunities provided on day 2 and 3. And, if you wish to earn a public accounting license as part of your CPA education, you must demonstrate depth or pass the financial reporting competency at level 2 on the CFE. If you pass at all 4 levels of the CFE, but do not pass the financial reporting competency at level 2, you will still pass the CFE overall, but you will need to complete the bridging program to public accounting license post-certification in order to meet the educational requirements for obtaining a public accounting license. You can read more about the full set of requirements for obtaining a public accounting license on the CPA Ontario website. To be successful at level 3, the response must demonstrate depth in the pre-selected elective depth role. Opportunities to obtain depth at level 3 are only available on day 2 of the CFE. If you did not pass level 3, this could mean you are having trouble getting competent in the role you chose, for example, either assurance, finance, performance management, or tax. It may be a technical knowledge issue, case writing issue, or combination. You could consider choosing another role, especially if this is not your first time being unsuccessful in that same role. In selecting a depth elective role, you should consider your strengths as well as your work experience. Your strengths include your technical skills and the practical experience you have gained to date. For example, if you have no audit or assurance work experience, you are less likely to be successful in the assurance elective role even if you have completed the assurance elective. Due to the complex nature of auditing and assurance work, you're less likely to gain a full understanding of the required competencies through education alone. If you work in financial reporting in industry, consider performance management, tax, or finance as your elective depth role if you have never worked in audit or assurance. And it is also recommended you select a depth role that aligns with one of the 2 elective modules you have completed. Also, note that if you wish to earn a public accounting license as part of your CPA education, you must select and pass with the assurance elective depth role on the CFE. Also, you need to have completed the assurance and taxation modules. Finally, to be successful at level 4, the response must demonstrate breadth across all competency areas of the competency map, at a core level, by not having avoided a particular technical competency area. Opportunities to achieve breadth are primarily on day 3, but there may also be some opportunities on day 2. Level 4 requires breadth in all competencies and you must achieve a minimum number of RCs. It's uncommon for a student to fail only at level 4, however, you need to be successful in all of the competency areas in order to pass the CFE. Writers who are not successful at level 4 sometimes experienced a time management issue which prevented them from achieving breadth and addressing enough assessment opportunities across all competencies. Alternatively, writers may have a technically weak competency area. Some questions you may want to consider if you were unsuccessful at level 4 are: were there any competency areas you avoided or feel you are technically weaker in? If you have a fail result in a particular competency, do you feel technically confident in that area? If not, that may mean you may also have a technical weakness in that competency area that needs to be addressed. Did you manage your time well? Did you have time to complete the cases as per your initial outlines? Requesting a remark. All unsuccessful CFE writers have the option to request a remark of their CFE results. This is a completely optional process and it is a personal decision that each writer will make. CPA Ontario is unable to provide you with advice on whether or not you should request a remark, however we will discuss some factors you should consider in the next part of this video. Specific guidance is also provided in the information to candidates letter. You can request a remark if you were unsuccessful on the CFE. You can also request a remark if you were successful on the CFE and demonstrated depth in assurance, at level 3, and were unsuccessful demonstrating depth in financial reporting, at level 2. You are able to request a remark for day 1 only, day 2 and 3 only, or all 3 days. You must submit the request, along with payment for the remark, by the deadline in your results email from CPA Ontario. The deadline is also posted on CPA Ontario's website. The request is made through My Portal under Services. Remark results are typically not available until several months after the request is made. We will discuss more specific aspects of a remark in the next section. It's important to note that the CFE marking and evaluation process is a very rigorous process. Day 1 is assessed holistically as a pass or fail. Any failing papers are marked at least twice, with the second marking by an experienced marker. If there are any differences between the two markings, then the paper is marked a third time by an arbitrator. Every day, 2 paper is marked twice, and if there are any differences in marking, it is marked a third time by an arbitrator. Day 3 is remarked if a combined day 2 and 3 result is a fail and the student passed the depth roll test. All this to say, the chance of success on a remark is extremely low. In past years, the percentage of remarks that have led to an unsuccessful result being overturned have been approximately 1%. This information is available in the Information to Candidates letter. Before deciding to request a remark, you should take the time to fully and carefully review and understand your results PDF. After you've done that, there are some factors to consider that you want to think about before requesting a remark. You may wish to consider requesting a remark if you were unsuccessful at level 1 only and are assigned a decile ranking of 1 or 2. You did not demonstrate competence in only one specific competency area at any of level 2, 3, or 4. For example, you were unsuccessful at taxation only at level 4 and passed every other level. You made a successful attempt with depth in assurance for your depth role and failed depth in financial reporting at level 2 and are interested in pursuing a public accounting license. Even though these are factors that may increase the likelihood of a successful remark, you should still keep in mind that the overall percentage of successful remarks will still be very low. Some factors you may wish to consider that may make you less likely to succeed on a remark are: you did not demonstrate competence at level 1 and are assigned a decile ranking of 3 or more. Or, you did not demonstrate competence in more than one specific competency area at level 2, 3, or 4. It's also very important to keep in mind that a remark will only consider a limited number of things. The first one is if the marker misapplied the marking process or guide. The second is if the marker failed to consider a relevant section of your response, for example, the marker missed a relevant discussion somewhere. And the third one is if the marker exhibited poor application of judgment. You cannot provide any circumstances or context with your remark request. Only the paper itself is remarked with no additional information taken into consideration. For example, if you experienced some kind of medical episode or personal incident which you feel impacted your performance, these situations would not be taken into consideration with the remark request. No additional feedback or guidance will be provided to you along with the remark result. You will only receive an email that simply notes whether you were successful or unsuccessful on the remark. If you happen to be successful on remark, the remark fee will be refunded. Next steps. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, as a third-time unsuccessful CFE writer, your next steps will be to wait for the notice of student deregistration letter from the registrar. If you decide to submit a remark request by the deadline stated in the results email, you will still receive a notice of deregistration letter, but will not be deregistered until the remark decision has been issued. If you decide not to submit a remark request, you will be issued a confirmation of deregistration letter within 45 days of the results release date. Once you receive your deregistration letter, please read it carefully as it will discuss the options available to you, including applying for re-registration. As a reminder, contact the CPA Ontario Transcript Assessment and Registration Team at transcriptregistration@cpaontario.ca with any questions. After watching this video and reviewing the resources outlined in the results email, if you feel you still have questions, you may choose to book a complimentary CFE consultation with a CPA advisor. The link to book a consultation can be found on the results email you received, or on the CPA Ontario CFE Remarks, Performance Analysis Reports and Consultations webpage. Consultations are only available to unsuccessful CFE writers, or successful CFE writers, who were unsuccessful at the financial reporting competencies at Level 2 and selected assurance as their depth role. If you do not meet these requirements and book a consultation, your booking will be cancelled. During your CFE consultation, you can ask questions about how to interpret your CFE results PDF, which we also covered in this video. You may also ask questions about your next steps regarding your third unsuccessful CFE attempt. Please note CFE consultations are student-driven, meaning they are meant to provide you with an opportunity to ask the advisor questions. The advisor will not have an agenda or pre-planned list of topics to discuss with you. The consultation will be solely based on the questions you bring up at the meeting. There are some parameters to keep in mind. The CFE is non-disclosed, so the advisor you speak with will not have access to your exam paper or be able to answer any specific questions about your performance. They also will not be able to discuss any concerns you may have had with the examination center or your CFE attempt. These should be addressed directly to CPA Ontario by emailing cpamodule@cpaontario.ca. Your advisor will also not discuss any specific questions regarding re-registration and does not have the ability to influence the re-registration process. They will not be able to comment on the likelihood of the outcome of the request for re-registration or the sufficiency of specific extraordinary circumstances. If you have truly extenuating circumstances relating to one of your CFE attempts that is supported by relevant third-party documentation, you should email it to cpamodule@cpaontario.ca prior to deregistration for review. In addition, if you are re-registered as a CPA student and granted an additional attempt for the CFE, you may reach out to us at that time for additional guidance on how to prepare for your next attempt. Thank you, and we wish you luck on your journey.